you need a blanket to go at the top of your hammock. So that being the opposite of where your butt's gonna be sitting. So you tuck that in there, and you could even prepare your class, you know, before they arrive by just having that blanket tucked already up into the fabric like that, okay? Then you'll sit your bottom on the edge. This is kind of the starting position. The bottom is eventually gonna go onto the floor, but this helps to kind of get everything spread out and ready. It's a little bit easier than trying to put it on like a jacket once you know, are sitting on the floor. So you kind of lay back, wiggle yourself so your head is under the blanket, and then pull the fabric away and slide yourself down onto the ground. So you really need the blanket to support the head, otherwise your head is flopping back and it really doesn't feel nice. Now you can take the fabric a little bit away from the beam, and it actually is less intense than being under the beam, believe it or not. Soles of the feet will come together, and then you have this nice position. You can cross the arms, or you can just let the elbows, like little chicken wings, rest in the sides of the fabric. And this is the opening posture, just taking some time to rest here. So we're preparing the chest and the shoulders for a back bend. If it feels like too intense in any part of the body, the way to make it less intense is to put the soles of your feet on the floor. And just, you can try shifting away, shifting underneath, and just feel what is the best right spot. That feels like a place that you can rest and breathe for a few moments of centering and grounding. And once you are here in position, just starting to find your breath, just watching your body breathe itself, becoming that observer or witness to the breath flowing in and out of the body. If at any time this becomes too intense, you can lift your head up, slide the arms out, scoop the fabric under your rib cage, and take a more upright position. If you feel like too much pulling in the hips or the thighs or the knees, you have two blocks that you can rest underneath your thighs. And if you would like me to bring those to you, you can give me a wave. I'm feeling okay? The other option is to just put your feet on the floor, and that takes the stretch out of the hips. All right, so now, just spending a few moments here, you're going to tap into some Ujjayi breathing. And the way that you find that sound of the ocean, or ocean's breath in the throat, we'll practice for a moment, inhaling through the nose. And then open your mouth and make a sound like you're fogging up a mirror in front of you with a sound. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling. Feel that sound and sensation in the throat. 2 more times. Inhaling nose. Exhale, fogging glass. 1 more time. And now seal the lips and breathe in, almost like you're using your nose like a straw. You're sucking the breath in, up into behind the collarbone and into the throat, making that same sound as you breathe in and out through the nose. It's very soft, it's very gentle. This is Ujjayi breath, known as ocean's breath, or sometimes victorious breath. It creates that gentle, soft sound of the ocean in the throat, very soothing, very peaceful. Now 3 cleansing breaths. Inhale, filling up. Open mouth, let it sigh. This was great for clearing out your body if you're feeling a little sore. Inhale, exhale, try to release any tension as you breathe out through the mouth. And then also any tension in the mind, any anticipation for our long day. Just use that exhale through the mouth to try to release expectation, try to release any anxiety or anything that's coming up. One more time. Let it all go. Good. You can start to take a little sway side to side. Just nice and gentle. Come back to center, place the soles of the feet onto the ground, and then using the hands behind the head, pull the head so that the neck is nice and long, tucking the chin towards the throat. And then you're gonna reach up for your hammock and slide yourself on out. Okay, coming up to sit. Grab these 2 blocks and then have them by the hips, but first we're just gonna use one with your hands on the ends like this. What do you need? Oh, you're gonna film? Okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna use this as a little shoulder work. So you're gonna have the arms straight out in front, pushing the palms into the sides of the block. And on your inhalation, you're gonna stretch and reach up. And on your exhalation, bring that back to chest height. So you're working through the shoulder joints. Go nice and slow and nice and easy. So you don't have to create any strain. Don't go so far back that you feel like you're straining. Exhaling down. Press the palms into the block so you have that nice firm feeling in the arms. We're going to be working on some handstands later in class in the hammock, and this is not only helping you with that alignment for your arms, but also starting to open and warm up the shoulders. We're getting some synovial fluid moving in the joints, some lubrication. One more time, inhaling. And exhale, releasing back down. Give a nice big squeeze, press, 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 press. Feel the arms fire up, and then all the way back down. Okay, and now you're gonna place that by the hip. We're gonna have a little fun working here, trying to lift the seat off the floor. So you're gonna push into your palms and then see if you can scoop the belly in and lift your seat up a little bit. And then back down. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. But if you hollow out the belly, you get a little rounding even here through the shoulders. That's gonna help you to find into your core. And then down. And you might even find that you can get your feet to lift off the ground. This posture is called Lolasana, which I think is perfect. So you kind of rock and roll a little bit around there. Shoulders are down, hollow belly. It's the hollowing of the belly and that little lean forward that helps you to find your way in there. We're gonna get a chance to practice this a little bit in the hammock this morning too, so it's kind of fun to try it on the ground with the blocks to start. All right, you can set those back up to the front. We'll be using those shortly. And then hop into your hammock. I'm gonna come into just briefly a supported bridge pose. We worked on this yesterday, so that same situation where you don't really need to worry about sliding the fabric. It's gonna slide down to your low back. And then once you have your bridge position, you're gonna go right into legs up the wall, stretching the feet up towards the ceiling, and breathing there for several breaths. Anytime that you need a little soothing sensation, feel free to tap back into Ujjayi Pranayama. So you can create that little soft ocean sound anytime that you like. It's a calming, centering way to breathe. It requires a little bit of concentration. So it directs the mind away from any chatter and into a more peaceful place as the mind anchors into the breathing. This is your reminder that if at any time something doesn't feel comfortable or good in your body, just come out. You can rest Shavasana style on the floor, take a child's pose. You're in a marathon, not a sprint. So make sure you take good care of yourself. Okay, so from here, you're going to start to bring your right toes down to the floor. So you're on the ball of your foot, right toes are down on the ground, the left leg stays extended, and you can stay right here just like you are. You can start to turn your toenails so the toenails are on the floor, so the toes turn under, so the tops of the toes are on the ground. We're gonna start to feel that as a quadricep stretch. You have the option to reach your right hand for your toes and start to slide them a little bit back towards your shoulder. Don't strain, you're just going for some gentle opening. Kind of yin style here, right? Because you're supported and you're still. So just breathe, feel those sensations. Start to slide the foot back so you're on the ball of the foot. And then lifting the right leg back up. Take a couple breaths here with both legs extended. If you're feeling a little bit of tenderness in that lower back area, the hammock kind of compresses those tissues, as long as it's not overly painful, you're just getting a nice deep tissue massage into muscles that might be a little bit tight. All right, start to slide the left toes down to the mat, first starting on the ball of the foot. And this may be enough. You might already be getting some stretching in your quadriceps if you're really tight. So you can decide if you want to stay there or turn your toenails under so that you're on the tops of your toes. And then any additional moving of the toes closer to the left shoulder, adjusting possibly with the left hand to deepen the sensation. Just, that's up to you, listen to your body. And breathe deep. To release now, sliding back to the ball of the left foot, and then stretching the left leg back up to the ceiling. Take a cleansing breath, inhaling and exhaling out through the mouth. All right, from here, you're going to reach your hands to the fabric that's kind of close to your bottom and just hold on to that piece so that it's more gathered up. And take the feet away from your face, so they're through the hammock but away from your face. And then start to open your legs wide. So now the fabric is on your thighs. You're going to feel that compression there. And if you start to wrap your legs around the hammock, bring the soles of your feet together, you're going to be in another variation of Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. This also starts to feel a little bit like shoulder stand. So you can start to feel the back body and spread across the upper shoulder blades.
March, go on the other side of the fabric.
Yeah, so you want to come to that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Use your hands to
kind of adjust and then wrap your legs around the outside. And if they don't go all the way, that's okay. Yeah, you can just hook, you can either come back to do one at a time and switch like you're doing right now, or you can just go back to the legs extended up. Okay, so just experimenting. Now, if you don't have both legs wrapped, you're not going to do this part, and that's okay. But if you have both legs wrapped around, you can start to squeeze your knees together. So if you're going to feel your butt lift up towards the floor, it's pretty intense. So you're squeezing the knees together and then pointing the toes towards the ceiling as much as you can. And now you're really starting to move towards a shoulder stand situation, but with very little pressure on the neck and shoulders. Intensity is in the legs. Relax the legs back to butterfly. And if you're working on the half, you can switch at any time. And if you have the full wrap, you're going to do 2 more times, squeezing the knees together, extending the legs up towards the ceiling. Sliding back down, relaxing for a breath. And then a final round when you're ready, squeezing the knees together, extending the legs up. And sliding back down. Good. All right, from here, open the legs wide, bring your hands to the fabric. So legs are open wide and you're holding on to both sides. Now, if you think heels down towards the floor, it's gonna create a nice little lever action and you're gonna sit right on up. That's it. A little bit of core happens there, but mostly it's just the momentum, heels to the ground. Great. How's everyone feeling? Good. Good. I know I'm feeling definitely more sensitive to the inversions today, so I want you to really pay attention to that. And if you feel like anything like headachy or whatever, just observe. You don't have to do every single posture. All right, so give it a little swing, and then you're gonna come up and out of your hammock. And we're gonna, there's a floor sequence on here we'll go through later, but I'm not gonna do that in practice today. I'm gonna have you move this up. So it's at about what we call knee height, so that's above the knee, just at the lower part of your thigh. We had a little practice with this yesterday, where you slide down, cupping the ribs with the fabric, so it's at here at the lower ribs, and come on down. So yesterday we worked on Malasana with the knees wide. Today we're gonna work on toe stand, coming up to the balls of your feet, knees pointing forward.
Oh, I have like the crampiest feet.
Feet?
Yes.
Yeah. It's true because we don't really work our feet that much.
I wear heels.
I was gonna say if you're
Used
wearing
to
little
dance.
coffins all day long on your
Yes.
feet, and particularly heels, you are probably going to have tight muscles.
Yes.
We have a lot of muscles in our feet and they cross each other. So, you know, doing yoga, doing this stuff is beneficial, but if it's cramping, you might need to just,
Yeah, it feels good. But if you see me wiggling
Yeah,
with my feet,
yeah,
that's,
I know.
That's why it's...
so push your knees a little forward and your heels are coming towards your sitting bones. So if you were balancing in this posture in space, you'd be sitting on your heels and all of your weight would kind of be there. So we get to have the hammock help a little bit here and working on opening up the space of the knee. Nice. Good. All right.
See what I felt like.
Here's our opportunity to practice that Lolasana, but here on the floor. It's not any easier in the hammock, but your butt's already gonna be off the ground, so that part's easier. Push your hands into the fabric. It's gonna engage your psoas muscle, which is this big hip flexor that's right here, and scoop the belly in and see if you can float the feet off the ground. It's challenging, and you will be really sore in your core muscles after doing that. If you slide, readjust, toe stand, press, and then see if you can squeeze one more time coming into this Lolasana. Again, not any really easier, just putting the work into a different place. All right, give yourself a nice little rock here. And then you're gonna rock yourself right up and out. And we're going to come to inversion height. So if you recall, this is the height that is just below the hips. And as you become more practiced in aerial, you'll know right where to go. You'll know what your loops are. You'll get used to where that perfect position is for your body. But in general, you want that to be just below the hip bone so that you can tiptoe forward, leaning in, putting the hands down onto the ground. Let's take this back into a downward facing dog, and we'll do our flight check here, just to check and make sure that the head is not going to touch the floor. So to do your flight check, you squeeze your knees into your belly super tight. Let the head come down towards the floor. You can slide your hands back underneath your shoulders, almost like a tripod headstand. And then reaching the hands to the shins, squeeze everything into a tight little package and make sure that your head does not touch the ground. I'm checking you out too. Toes down at the same time as the hands. Yep. So we're not gonna, you have that blanket there to use, but we're not gonna be doing more down dog.
They're a lot bruised today.
Yeah, it can be very sensitive and it does get better and easier. So we're doing a lot of practice this weekend and the body is gonna be feeling it. All right, so now we're gonna come and do some planking and your blocks are gonna be your friend here, getting your hands a little bit higher off the ground. Step 1 foot back into the fabric. And before we go into our plank, we'll stretch out these hip flexors a little bit. So we have the ability to float a little bit because we have our foot in the hammock. So push into the block, squeeze your belly, and if you need to get your right foot forward a little bit more, just take that little float. And then you can stretch your toes, your left toes back, and get nice and long with that back leg, and it should feel pretty good. And the hip flexors, reach the tail away from the crown of the head. You can add a little twist in here too for the spine, so pull your belly in so the belly comes up towards the spine and then reach the right hand towards the ceiling. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, the hand comes back down. Good. Push into the block, squeeze the belly. You have the option, to lift the foot, the right foot up into the fabric. If that doesn't happen, then just take the left foot out first and switch. Yep. You don't want to create strain. So it's either this or you just take the left foot out first, readjust the right, and keeping the left foot on the ground. So work with your body so that your body begins to build trust that you're going to take care of it. Reminder that your body is your temple that houses your soul, and so we want to treat it beautifully, like it's divine, because it is. So you're just stretching again back through the right toes now, lengthening forward through the crown of the head. We'll add in that twist, hugging the belly button towards the spine, push into the right hand, and then reach the left arm up. So that should feel really good on the spine. Also on these pectoral muscles that have been working so hard, opening up. Inhaling, and then as you exhale, hand comes down. Now again, you're either going to put the right foot out and on the floor, or you're going to hug the belly, push around the upper back, and both feet come into the fabric. Okay, so you can either observe or do. You're going to bring your right knee to your right tricep, hug it in, and then back to the fabric. Left knee to the left tricep, hug it in. Stretching back. Good. And now the right foot is going to come out and the knee and shin down to the ground. We call this like a pigeon style. It really gets into these back hip flexors, which are the muscles on the front of the hip. And you can stay right here on your shin, or you could even go a little bit more down towards the ground, even bending the back knee if that feels good. Whew. Got the breath going pretty fast, so this is the perfect time. Mars, what do you think? Feels pretty good, right?
When I get there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you bend the left knee down towards the floor and then start to walk yourself up, it's going to intensify the stretch of the quadricep. This is, working towards a bit of a king pigeon situation. If it's painful, go back to closer to the floor and let it be more restorative. So working at your level of comfortability, you might slide the left foot out and readjust, or push into your palms, squeeze the belly, lift up to the torso. So you are not using your shoulders really, but your core muscles as you lift the right foot up into the fabric. And on the left foot, it's going to slide out, coming to the shin. Take a couple breaths there. And if you want to start to bend your right knee so it's moving down towards the ground, you can try that. Go slowly, so we're inviting the body to open up slowly. And if you want to do that little shift where you move the left knee a bit more to the left, coming down to the forearms. So now you'll feel that bit more in the outer left hip. And if you want to feel that strongly in the right quadricep, start to push into your palms, make the arms more straight. That's going to intensify quite a bit in that back leg. Either sliding the right foot out or pushing yourself back to the left shin, pushing into the palms, hug the belly in, go slow so you really feel yourself using your core. We have one more fun little thing we can try here if your body is inviting you to, which is to separate the knees, squeeze the knees. We call this pigeon, crow, sorry, squeezing and hugging the knees towards the triceps, stretching back, one foot down, other foot down. You're gonna come to the knees, and here you'll be child's pose, either hands on the blocks, or you can pull your fabric around. Place the hands on the fabric and stay a little bit higher. This will give a bit of a stretch to the shoulders. So if you feel like you want to be closer to the ground, having the hands on the blocks also gives a stretch to the shoulders. Just choosing which one feels best. Just noticing the elevated rate of your breath. So this is a little bit more of a power practice. It's going to elevate your heart rate, which is great for pumping the blood through your body. It's a little bit more stress on the muscles, so the muscles will grow. I'm just using a bit more strength-based situation in our practice today. Okay, so come on up. You can take the fabric into your hands. Give a little push forward. And then roll yourself up onto your knees. We'll do that a couple more times. Pushing the arms forward. Rolling up from the core. So you're squeezing your belly one vertebra at a time. Pressing forward. And then rolling yourself up. And from here, you're going to wrap around the fabric like this. So you're coming from this inside, wrapping around. Take a hold. And you're going to use this to just step one foot up, step the other foot up, and you can even come into a plank position by taking the feet forward, or for a little bit more, less intensity, just stand like this in a chair or upward facing plank. Shoulders are rolling down, hugging the shoulder blades together. And then starting to pull yourself up and releasing, coming out. All right, perfect. So now we're going to get a little practice on a side plank. Coming to stand with the fabric next to, let's all go to the left hip. So your left hip is standing in front of the hammock. And then step your left leg through.
Do you want us all facing the window or we?
Well, I'm going to do it with we're all on the same leg just for ease of instruction. And then you want that tucked into the left inner thigh, so not up the middle. We don't want that thong situation happening, that would not feel good. You want that into the left inner thigh. Turn your right toes out and start to bend the knee, and you can reach down and take a hold of one of these blocks. So it kind of looks like a side angle situation. Your left foot might not be flat, you might just be on the toes. Okay. So from here, thinking side plank, you're holding on nice and firm with your left hand onto the fabric. You're pushing your right hand into the block. Start to slide your right toes back. Now you can keep your feet both on the ground. There is an intensity in the inner thigh area for sure. If you lift your feet up, that will be, it'll still be intense, but it will be less so. And you're probably gonna start to swing. So you can either bring your block with you or more likely you're gonna leave the block there on the ground, and you could even try lifting up through this right hand. Side plank. Putting the hand back onto the floor. If you lifted, put the right foot back onto the floor, and then place your left foot on the floor. You can take your block for a little extra support as you come into a triangle pose. So you're straightening out your front leg. You might be on your tippy toes of the back foot. Remember, you have the support of the hammock, so we don't have to have the same alignment as we do in our floor postures when we're doing regular yoga practice, but you're still getting that big stretch into your front leg, inner thigh, hamstrings. Rotate the chest open. You might even take the right hand behind you, the left hand behind you, and reach for that back piece of fabric to open the chest more. Starting to slide your right foot closer to your body, bend the knee so that it's easy to plant the back foot and come on up. Whew. And we're gonna do the whole thing on the other side. So you can just slide, don't have to turn around, you can just slide to the opposite thigh. You're gonna take your block with you. And then hooking that onto the right inner thigh. Start to bend your left knee, reach down for that block. You're holding on with your right hand. Take a few breaths in this side angle pose because it feels pretty nice. And remember, this back leg is probably just gonna be on the tippy toe. Feel that stretch into your right shoulder, right pectoral. Push firmly into the left hand, squeeze the belly, and start to slide the left toes back. And immediately you're gonna lose your ability to really be solid on the ground. So if you squeeze the inner thighs together, you come to this lifted position. You have the option to release the left hand. You'll start to swing a bit. Hopefully it's fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. Bringing the hand back to the ground. Place the left foot back on the ground. You can reach for your block, slide it a little bit closer. And now the left leg is extending. You're coming into that triangle pose. So left leg is straight, right toes or foot is on the floor, lengthening through your torso. An option to take the right hand to the back piece of fabric so you're getting more opening through the chest. Pull the lower ribs away from the hips. And now starting to bend the knee by sliding the left foot closer to the center of your mat so that you can get a little bit more grounded here and start to come on up. Good. Releasing yourself from the fabric and coming to stand for a moment in a mountain pose. Pushing down into the feet, let your shoulders relax. Eyes can be opened or closed depending on steadiness. Letting the breath start to smooth and even. Maybe you're feeling a little bit of that ujjayi breath in the throat. I thought I heard you. You made it. Okay. We can move the blocks out of the way now. And if you're feeling sensitive in the hips, you may want to pad your hammock now with a blanket for downward facing dog. So creating any padding that you need and then pulling the hammock below the hip bones, tiptoeing forward. You're going to lean in, anchoring the fabric right at the hip, placing the hands onto the ground and floating the feet back to a downward facing dog. So if floating doesn't work for you, just step the feet back and then hang in. You can even relax the forearms down to the floor, take some of the pressure off of the shoulders. If you do that, your toes are going to float off of the ground. And so we're doing a bit of a dolphin pose here, but this is a floating variation. Straighten the arms back out so the toes are down onto the ground. Walking the hands forward until you're in an inverted V shape. And then you're going to keep the left toes onto the ground, lift the right toes up, coming into a three-legged dog. Taking a couple of breaths here. The right toes will come back down to the ground. And changing sides, left toes lift up, three-legged dog on the opposite side, pressing your chest back towards your thighs so you get elongation. Biceps and the ears align. Breathing. Lowering the left toes down. And then lifting the right toes back up. This time you're going to start to slide your torso around until you're on the outer part of your left hip. So you have to turn the torso, turn the pelvis so that you're on the outer part of your left hip is resting in the fabric. And then start to bend your right knee. So you're coming into this bent knee position for three-legged dog. If you can loop the top of your foot and toes around the piece of fabric, that means you have to bend the knee and bring the foot through the hammock, looping around, stretching up. You're almost in a standing split position, much more intense in the left side hamstrings, getting a nice deep opening and stretch. Remember, listen to your body. Everything is optional in this class. If you have the loop, start to bend your knee, slide the torso back to square. If the hammock shifts at all to your belly, you have to readjust. So coming back to center, test that out. Maybe bend the elbows for your dolphin. And if you find that the fabric is above the hip bones, put the feet down, walk the hands and feet together, and readjust your body in the hammock. Start to straighten out the arms, put your toes down onto the floor, stretch your chest back towards your thighs. And then the left leg lifts. You're going to start to slide your torso, your pelvis all the way around so that the right hip is resting in the hammock. Bending the left knee, an option to hook the top of your foot and toes around the fabric and slide the toes up towards the ceiling, pressing the chest back. And that becomes much more intense. Only doing that if it feels okay for your body. And starting to rebend the knee, releasing the foot, sliding the torso around, come center. You're going to inhale and lengthen the chest. On the exhale, float the feet to the hands. So you squeeze the knees towards the chest. You can give a little push if that works. But really this comes from the pulling of the knees forward and the squeezing of the core. Is anyone having a challenge with that, or does it feel pretty natural? Everyone good? Because you can do a little maneuver here where you keep your hands on the ground and the legs are straight out from the hips. And then you can squeeze the knees in and push it back. Squeeze the knees in, push the feet back, and that's exactly what you're doing when you're doing your jump up that we call it. The knees squeeze in, you pull with the hands, and the feet float to the front of your mat. Inhale to a half lift. Squeeze the fabric at the hips. Exhale to a fold. Inhale to a flat back. Great practice for learning how to anchor the fabric at the hips. Fold. One more time, flat back. Fold. And then soften the knees a little bit, curl the spine in, hug the belly in, and roll up one vertebra at a time. Once you're up, roll the shoulders. You can move them in and out. Okay, and then just take a few moments. Hold on to your hammock if you're going to close your eyes. We've already done quite a bit of upside down, so re-regulating. I'll invite you to come back for a few moments to your Ujjayi breathing. Really soft in the throat. Everyone doing good? All right. So now you're gonna take one of your blocks and put it up towards the top of your mat.
Got my box way too far out of the way.
Oh. We just need one. And you probably don't even need it, to be honest. But I'm gonna teach it to you this way so that you know the modification if you need it. And it works nicely because if you're starting a practice with the blocks and they're kind of there, then you can use them for other parts of your class. So this is what you're gonna be doing. I'm gonna demonstrate the whole thing first and then you're going to do. So you lean into your fabric, preparing for flying locust. The palms will be in, the thumbs will be pointing up. Chest is lifted, legs lift, and you start to fly. You'll take a few moments flying here. And then you're going to land your right foot towards the top of your mat. And you're going to reach your left hand down for the block. So you're coming into warrior three. And then you're going to start to rotate the torso more, reaching the hand to the ceiling, coming into a twisting half moon. I'm going to just demonstrate for learning purposes that because we've already worked a little bit on quadricep opening, there is a variation you can do where you bend the back knee and catch the foot. If you want to add some intensity, if you have a class that's a little bit more advanced and you feel comfortable with that, that's a fun addition. Or you could add it in later towards the end of practice as well. Okay? So that's a variation. Now, reaching the right hand for the hammock, you gotta squeeze your belly and use some core to reach back up. And this is the fun part. It's a little bit tricky. You gotta get up on the ball of the foot and push to get flying again. And we'll do the whole thing on the second side. Okay, to come out, you've got two options. You've already done your flight check, so you know your head is above the ground. You could either land your feet on a forward momentum or paying attention to that block, sliding down. You may want to move that out of the way first. Sliding down, bring the head towards the floor, reaching for your shins, coming into that inverted child's pose, and then landing the feet and rolling on up. Should we give it a go? Coming into your flying locust, you pull the fabric down, lean in, palms in, thumbs up, lift the feet, and start to fly. And landing now which one did we do?
You demonstrated with the right foot.
Okay,
first.
landing the left foot, there we go. Coming into your warrior three, option to use the block under the right hand. And then when you're ready, rotating the chest, you're coming into a twisting half moon. If you want to try the bound variation, start to bend the back knee, and you can even bend the back knee and not reach for the foot, just to get that little feeling of the stretch in the quadriceps. Or taking the left hand, holding onto the right foot, you push the foot into the hand, opening up to that whole quadricep. If you're holding, unwind the leg, hold the left hand on the fabric. If you have the block there, move it out of the way. Reaching up for the hammock. And here's your little push, starting to fly. And you can choose your exit, either landing the toes at the front of your mat or sliding into, Tamara, make sure you do your flight check if you didn't. Did you do it? Did you do the flight check? I can't remember if you were here yet.
No, I just made sure it was at my hip height.
Okay, good. All right. So never invert until you have done your flight check. All right. Yeah. Let's take a few resting moments. Just hop up in your fabric. Because it's a lot of movement already. So just standing or sitting in your hammock, wrap the arms around if that feels good. You can hold one wrist and then take the head down and chin towards the floor. Eyes are closed. And if you feel at all that sensation in the belly, you may even need to come out of the fabric. So that's up to you, but I want you to take about 10 to 15 breaths, long, slow, and deep. Maybe even using that soothing Ujjayi breath. Coming back to a regulated place. There's no hurry, but when you're feeling more settled, you can take your feet back onto the floor. You're going to bring the fabric around the lower ribs. Make sure that you're hugging in here, and we're going to come to a chair position. So again, we'll be still here for a few moments. This will also stretch out the lower back. It should feel good, the armpits, the shoulders. Continuing that long, slow, deep breathing. And now extend your right leg forward, point and flex for the toes. And then circle around. We're going to work on some hip mobility here as you sweep the leg around. You can bend the knee, of course, if you need to, and coming into our high lunge. So keeping the knee lifted. You can also place the knee on the floor if that feels better for your body. But if you can stay with the knee lifted, push into those back toes, press into the palms, and take the eyes to the ceiling. Now yesterday, we just sweep the leg back around, and you're more than welcome to do that. So bring your chin parallel to the floor, push into your palms. You can sweep the leg around, or you can play with that floating position, either just lifting the knees or coming to Lolasana, and then feet on the back. Okay? Just a little extra core in there. And yes, you will be feeling that tomorrow. I've been doing that for a long time, and every time I still feel sore in the abdominals the next day. All right, extending the left leg, point and flex. Circle. And then keeping the leg nice and long, swinging around, keeping it straight for as long as you can. It's working into that mobility in the hip, the ability to move the hip in all of its directions, that ball that goes into the joint. You want to be able to keep that nice and fluid. Push into the palms, take the eyes to the ceiling. Push into the back toes. If you have the option to slide the leg back around or bring the chin parallel to the floor, push into the hands. That activates your psoas muscle. And then lifting the feet, possibly, feet to the ground. And then come back to an extended plank position. Toes are forward, tail is long. Take the hands behind you, wiggle your shoulders a little bit. So you're gonna work on interlacing your fingers, but only if that feels okay for your shoulders and your pectorals. If you have the interlace, just let the hands hang down towards the ground, point the tailbone towards the heels, and eyes to the ceiling. And releasing the fingers now. And this is your time. You can decide. If you're feeling a little sensitive to movement, you may just want to observe, but we're going to work on what's called a bit of a flying plank here. So what we're doing is essentially moving from a position here with the arms up. You're coming down through a chair pose. I'm doing it in slow motion. But then you shift yourself forward, pushing, the toes come back, and you pull your belly in. So don't do this. You'll see a lot of people doing this. Pull the belly back up and in, and the hands press forward like it's the ground. You come back through, reach up, and then pushing into your plank. Reaching up. Come through chair, pushing forward. The nice thing about this is it gives you a really good massage here in these rotators, which can feel really nice after all that work we've been doing on our shoulders. One more time. And push. Good. Coming back to your upward facing plank, walking the toes forward, hands resting to the fabric, tuck the chin towards the throat, and just take a few moments to close your eyes and breathe. Back to your chair position, readjusting the fabric if you need so it's supporting your ribs. Bottom hangs heavy towards the ground. And that good stretch, those lower back muscles. That little gentle rocking. And you're gonna rock right up and out of your hammock. And then you're going to grab your handles. So grabbing the handles and looping them, looking at your fabric. If you have the hooks on different levels, start with the highest level, hook there first, and then make the handles match. If your hammock hooks are on the same level, then you just hook them in, but if you have it opposite, make sure those match there. So take that handle here and put it up to match the other one. Yeah.
This one?
The handle. So the handles,
are the same.
oh, you put them down low. Yeah, it's fine. You might find that it works better if you match it with the highest height because it kind of puts it at the right level, but that's up to you. You can play with it and see how it works. Because everybody's body is shaped differently, so that depends. But yeah, just make sure the handles match. Okay, now step in front of your fabric. You're going to hold on with your hands and start to put weight into your left foot as you slide your right toes up into the fabric. So here we're stretching out the quadriceps. The heel is close to the bottom. If you draw your lower abdominals in and up and point your tailbone down, you're going to get a bigger stretch there in your quadricep muscles. And then you can start to walk the hands up, taking a hold of the fabric, squeezing that together. An option to start to walk the hands down the fabric, pulling and lifting, coming into our dancer pose. Putting all that quadricep opening to good use. You have to squeeze your glutes and your hamstrings to get the leg higher. You can give a little pull with the hands too. The chest stays lifted, the elbows are hugging in towards the ears, spine is upright. And then slowly begin to lower down. Slide the foot out, take a moment to stand. Is it getting too hot or warm? Yeah, I'm warm. We're working it today. Okay, hand slide to the fabric. You don't need to move quickly, just take your time. You can stand for a couple breaths, even out the breath. Our back bends really open up the lungs, gets the heart rate elevated. You can start to hook your left toes into the hammock. It's also very energizing, so you might like to take a few moments to stand and enjoy that energy rising up through your torso. Starting here with this quadricep stretch, point the tailbone down. And you can stay right here, or you can start to bring the hands up. The elbows are pointing straight ahead. The spine stays lifted. So one thing that we can do, and there are different variations of dancer, but if you lean forward, right, you're losing that upper back extension. So try to stay more upright and lifted, squeeze the elbows together, and lift the toes instead. Squeezing the biceps to the ears. Now squeeze your glute, which is your butt, and your hamstrings, and see if you can get the leg to lift a little higher. Chest is open, spine is upright. Keep breathing. And then slowly starting to release down. Take the hands down. Releasing the foot. And then you can come, wrap the arms around. We do this loop already once today. Just gives you an anchor to hold on to. It's another way you can do your mountain pose so you feel nice and steady, holding onto the fabric so you can close your eyes, push into your feet, and take a moment to rest and feel. We're going to do a little bit more flying. So once again, I'm going to invite you to observe if you're feeling any sensitivity to the motion, or you can join in as you like. So this flying posture, you're going to be leaning back into your fabric, and you're going to observe while I demonstrate. So the first part of the posture is taking this lowest handle and sliding the plastic piece up so you have enough room to slide your right foot through. And then you want to seal that back down so that this doesn't slide up and down the leg. So you just anchor it in so you have your right foot hooked in there at the lowest handle. Now, the next piece is done while you're flying. So you pick your left foot up and you start to fly. Slide the left foot in, same procedure, tighten it down, and then you're coming to a wide leg position. So you can go ahead and join me, sliding the right foot through. Tighten that plastic piece down, and then just lifting the left foot up, you're going to start to fly, staying nice and calm as you hook the opposite foot in. And then just for space sake, Tamara, I'm going to have you come to Baddha Konasana, and Emily and Marge, I'm going to have you go to the wide leg position. Okay, so if you have more room, you can do that all together, but we're going to do it as a switching situation. So yeah, just tuck that in there, and then once your foot is through, then you can tighten that little piece down. But if you don't tighten it, it's okay. It just might slide up towards your knees, so you just have to see how that works. Okay, so now you're going to switch. Emily and Marge, you're going to bring your feet together, and we call this flying yogi, and Tamara can go wide. And then switch. Yeah, you're getting the dreaded slide. So you anchor that down. And when you're ready, switch. And then everyone is going to come to placing the soles of the feet together, resting the backs of your hands on your knees, bringing the thumb and the first finger together, closing your eyes, and just taking a moment to tap back into concentration. We're using Gyan Mudra, which is a mudra for concentration. These hand gestures have different energies that they bring, and this one brings focus right to the third eye point. So you're coming into a place of focus and concentration at the third eye. All right, keep the left leg folded in, open the right leg out. This is like a variation of Janu Shirshasana. We're not going to forward fold over the leg because we can't. But we can get that nice stretch in the right leg and keeping that opening in the left hip. And then bring that right foot back in and take the left leg out. And bring the left foot back in. And now you're going to start to readjust. So if you push your feet a little forward, you might adjust the fabric so it's really below the ribs. Then you bend your right knee in so you can loosen up that plastic piece if it's tight. And you're going to put the sole of your right foot onto the handle. Bend the left knee, loosen up, and put the sole of the left foot on the handle. So a lot of this, yeah, it's just working on coordination. And the more chill and relaxed, so we get our lessons through our yoga, right? It's not really so much about all of these shapes that we make in our body. Perfect, oh, I like that. I'm gonna have to try that as an exit. See, you watch your students because you're always gonna find a new fun thing to do.
The bone will smell like butter.
Right? All right, grab onto these middle handles if you're still with me. And then you're gonna use that pulling strength to pull yourself up, shoot your legs out, and arc backwards into a nice back bend, opening up the chest. Come back down so that you're resting in the fabric, bend the knees. And you have the option to do that one more time if you like, or if you're done back bending, just stay. This feels like a really nice place to release lower back. And then back down. So let's try that little release. Put your feet back through. I recommend that you tighten up just take a second to tighten up the plastic so that you don't slide all the way through. And then, I'm not really exactly sure how you did that, Marge, but I'm gonna say hold on to these middle handles so that you have a little bit more control as you come out. And then slide your butt down to the ground. It's fun! I love it! Yay! Marge made up a new pose! It's boat! It's a boat pose. Hug your shoulders down, away from your ears, sit up nice and tall, and maybe you even want to release your hands from the handles and use your core strength. We've got this fabric behind us too, so you could also do this. And then let's wrap. We practice this wrap a couple times, wrapping around, and come all the way down. And just let your feet rest in the handles. It's nice. We're going to take a little mini shavasana here. Just having the legs suspended. Take a moment to rest, ground yourself. Slow the breathing down. If that feels like too much intensity behind the knees in any way, you can always bend your knees. And that'll take the pressure off the backs of your legs and put a little bit more stretch in the hips. So if you want to try that, it's almost like froggy legs. Long, slow, deep breathing. And start to bring the knees closer together, and the knees are bending now. And you're gonna pull the heels towards your hands so you can reach up. You're gonna slide the feet out, but keep holding onto your handles. Good. And you're gonna take the legs up towards the ceiling. And then take the toes over your head, so like plow pose, only you're just gonna be just keeping the butt on the floor. It's a nice stretch to the back of the legs. And you're gonna use the momentum of your heels coming down towards the floor to get up, but because your hammock is right in front of you, I'm gonna suggest that you rebend your knees for a moment, get your feet in front of your handles and open your legs wide, or however you wanna get there. If you have a lot of, flexibility, it's kind of fun to just do a couple of these movements. Toes towards the face, bend the knees, take the legs out, bend the knees, bring the knees back up and around. You see, if you're not sure what I'm doing, come and look, because I'm making this up as I go. But it's nice in the hip joints, and it feels good on the backs of your legs too. Okay, then once you're in a wide position, stay there. You're gonna bring the heels towards the ground and use the handles as an assist to sit on them. Yeah, and then we're gonna use that to come forward, just like what Emily's doing. you're gonna have to send us this video now, because this is a whole new sequence that creating in real time. So we can use the hammock, and this actually was part of our sequence this morning that I didn't put in the beginning, but this is a really nice way to do it too, here with the handle. So you're using this as a support to keep the spine nice and straight, folding forward from the hips, and a wide-legged forward fold. You just do a little sway side to side to get into the side waist. Come back to center. Really press forward through the palms, opening the chest. Big deep stretch in the inner thighs, back to the legs, and then roll yourself up. So just for demonstration's sake, this is the way. We would normally have the fabric a little bit lower towards the ground, but this is the way that you would do that holding onto the fabric. And you can sway here again, side to side. So it's nice with the handles though. I like that you can get a little farther forward. Of course, if you're doing this at the beginning of the practice, we have the fabric lower to the ground, so you'd have more room to move and stretch. But just so you can see how that works. Okay. All right, come on back up. You're gonna put your feet underneath you and use a little, you can even take your hands higher and really hold on to help pull yourself up. And now we're gonna go into our inversion. So for this inversion, you're gonna open up the fabric and then fold it in half. And you want that folded edge to be towards the front of your mat and the open edge to be towards the back of the mat. Okay? So if you open that up, you take the front edge and bring it back to the back edge. And then depending on height and shape of your body, you may need it to be less folded. I need mine to really be folded fully in half because I'm very short, but somebody might need it to be only folded partially. So we have to just take some allowance for different size and shape to determine how much fabric we need. And you're gonna get an opportunity to feel and practice that right now. So you can always change the amount of fold if you need more fabric. So hop up in. And then you're gonna start to tuck this fabric around your hips. So if you feel like, oh, I don't have enough, then you might need to hop back out and change the amount of fold that you did. What you don't want is a lot of extra fabric coming up around here, because if you went backwards and this was up around your bra line, you would be stuck like in a straight jacket. So we want that at the natural waist, which is what we know as like the mom jean place. Not low rise, not high rise, but right there at the natural waist. Okay. And once you have that, you can anchor the fabric by squeezing with your hands and holding right here. And I'm going to invite you to observe the full process of the inversion before you go upside down, okay? Even if you have experience, just taking a moment to watch all of the steps. So from here, we're gonna go back into that wide leg position. So you have to lean a little back, take your legs wide. The legs have to be wide because the thighs are going to catch here on the fabric. And once you have that position, you really are not gonna fall out. I can make a lot of crazy movements and my body is anchored here at the thigh. Okay? We practice this low to the ground so that once you are here floating above the ground, it wouldn't feel so new and overwhelming. But remember, the legs have to come towards the face and wrap around with the soles of the feet together. If you bring them through the fabric, you will fall out. Please do not do that. Toes towards the face, soles of the feet together, and then you can release here the hands to the ground. Okay, we'll do a few different variations of things down here. I'm going to demonstrate one of them right now. So we've been working a lot on quadriceps and pigeon. If you take your right leg wide and then bend your knee down towards the ground, this is very similar to that quadricep stretch we did early in practice. You can reach your right hand for the right ankle, perhaps even the left hand. And as much as you want to push and open the chest, that's totally up to you. You may not be doing that part at all. You'll rewrap, do the other side, and then we'll come up and take a break, hands to the fabric, legs wide, using that momentum of heels to the ground, and up you go. So either observing or doing, legs go wide, fabric to the thighs, legs wrap around towards the face. And if you don't get there and you don't feel secure, then you're gonna wanna come back up or you don't let go. So that is completely, you have to determine. If you don't have the proper anchoring, now you can just take a moment to observe, and then in a moment I'm gonna invite you, if you want, to just have one leg wrapped, because you can, it seems like you can pretty easily get one leg wrapped. So you see how they are with just one leg wrapped around? You can release the other leg as long as one is wrapped. So that's up to you if you wanna try that. Okay, so upside down. One leg would have to wrap fully around. If it doesn't happen, then it's not safe for you to release. And that's okay. It takes time. If you are doing the pigeon, the king pigeon, you bend your right knee, toes point towards the ground. You can hold on with one hand or both. Once you have had a few moments to breathe, you'll rewrap the right leg and do the opposite side. Bending up the left knee, the left toes will point down. Rewrap. Hands to the fabric. Now see, she's doing more of a scorpion variation. That's not part of the class today, but it's kind of fun to watch some of the different variations. But you have to feel very comfortable to not fall, essentially, to do that situation. So, but fun to see. All right, and then up you go, taking a moment to regulate. Nice, long, slow, deep breathing. Gently flutter the eyes open. And you're going to take a few more moments to rest while I demonstrate the second half of the inversion today. Okay, so again, always optional. You can certainly just watch and observe, or if you feel like you want to go back upside down again in just a moment, you'll readjust your fabric around your hips. Give that nice squeeze. Open the legs wide and upside down you go. Wrapping the legs so you're anchored. And here we're going to get to work on some of those handstands I was talking about. So again, we're mirroring what we did closer to the floor at the beginning of practice. Remember, squeezing the knees together, taking the legs straight up. Same situation, only you're floating above the ground. You can just be in a passive handstand here with the elbows bent, or you can start to push into hugging the biceps to the ears. You'll lift a little bit up and out of the fabric, but it's still anchoring your hips. Because when you're ready to come down, you'll just sit back down, and you can try that a couple of times. Squeezing the legs, extending, pointing the toes, pushing, and down. And if you still have space to be upside down, when you're completely done, you can walk your hands forward, give a stretch to the shoulders and the armpits after all of that hard work before you reach for your hammock, take the legs wide, and heels to the ground. Okay. So once you are upside down, if you're working on the handstand, you squeeze the knees together till the legs are coming to the inner thighs, touching, hugging in. Take the legs to straight. Push into the ground. Draw the lower ribs together so you're really feeling that straight body position. And you take a moment to relax when you're ready. You can do a second round, completely up to you. Listen to your body. Pushing, hugging the lower ribs together, sucking the belly button towards the spine. So we're trying to come into as close to a body position for handstand as we can. Even if you can never do this on the middle of the room, you get the same feeling of stacking your body, being in that alignment, releasing. If you want to stretch the chest and the shoulders and you're still feeling okay upside down, you can walk the hands forward, releasing the chest. Let it hang heavy towards the back wall. And when you are ready, returning to the hang, curling the belly button into the spine, reaching for the sides of the fabric, opening the legs wide, heels towards the floor, and using that momentum to come on up. Yep, tuck them back in. Soften the eyes down towards the knees. Just let yourself really hang here. So you have to just take a moment to regulate, because I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm definitely feeling much more sensitive in the forehead region, at the third eye point. There's crystals up here in our pineal gland, and they're sensitive to all of this upside down, all this movement. So take your time, regulate, and make sure that you're not overdoing. And then start to slide yourself if you're ready. If you need more resting time, take more rest. Coming to stand onto the ground. You're gonna come to have the fabric in front of you. Open it up nice and wide. We're almost to relaxation. We'll do one more twist here. So popping your right leg into the fabric. You're gonna hold onto the right side of your hammock with your left hand and open the right arm out to the back, opening up the chest. You can give a little pull or push or pull, depending on where the position of your hand, with the left hand to kind of get more sensation of the fabric into the back of your right leg, and it will also help you to broaden and open the chest more. So if you want to pull, or you can think about pushing, either way, you're going to get that little extra information. Drop the right hip down, and then let yourself unwind and come back to center. Hold on with both hands, slide the right foot out. Take a moment to stand. And then the left leg into the fabric. You're going to hold the left side with your right hand. Keep the left hip dropping down and then rotating. Now, if you're just loose here, that's one way that you can do it. And then we talked about this either push or pulling action with the right hand to get a little bit more opening through the chest, a little more twist through the spine. Keep dropping the left hip down. Great release for the whole spine, the hamstrings, chest, neck. And then slowly start to unwind. Before you let go with the right hand, grab on with the left so you're nice and steady. And then sliding the left foot out. Fabric is open up all the way. You're going to hop back into your hammock. And it's time for Shavasana. So I want to teach you some different leg variations for Shavasana. You will be using your handles. So people will figure out, after a couple of times in class what they like best as far as the position of their legs for Shavasana. So if you stay sitting up for a moment, I'm going to show you the one variation is here, so you'll be lying back. And you'll take your middle handles, maybe, you can find them. The middle handles. And you can decide whether you want to have your feet on the more firm surface, but I recommend that you slide that out of the way. It's just a little softer sensation. And the feet come up like this. And this is your position for Shavasana. If you ever have too much sensation in the legs during the 10 minutes of relaxation, all you have to do is bend your knees like this, and your legs are very weightless, and you're just floating here. Okay, so that's one variation. Before you get into that, I want to show you the second variation. Usually I will come around and do this for students, but you can teach them how to do it for themselves. So you're going to take your right handle, and you're going to start to slide this foamy piece over to the right side. So go ahead and do that. So the foamy piece is on the outer right knee, and this it's almost like a D shape. That's coming, the soft part's coming towards the inner right knee. See that? Okay. Then you pick your heel up and you set it down and in. Don't come up through the bottom. You lift up and set it down and into that little spot. And that foamy part supports the outer right ankle. Okay? Do the same thing on the other side. You slide the foamy piece to the outside. The rounded part goes towards the inner knee. The foot comes up on top, sets down and in, and then that slides down to the outer part of the ankle. This will have very, very little sensation in the backs of your legs for relaxation. So a lot of people really like this one, but my 3 regulars like the middle handles. So it's.
I do this wrap though with my foot at the middle handle.
That's true, you do. You do that. So that's optional. You can do that too if you want to create that little wrap and do it in the middle, but most people just tuck their feet through. Okay, and then lay on back. And if you decide that you want to go middle after resting here for a moment, you can always change. I'm going to turn the heat back up. And I'm also going to be putting a blanket underneath your head.
I already got mine.
Okay, perfect. So to really make your students comfortable in this floating Shavasana, a blanket under the head makes a huge difference. So I come and place that for the students, and then I ask them, would you like to be still or would you like some sway? Tamara, would you like some sway? Sway? Okay. Need a little push. Emily, do you need more sway?
Yes, please.
Alright, and then, it's okay, I'll get that for you, no worries. I'm gonna have you lay back, because you're gonna cradle your head and neck, go ahead and relax, see that? So. Backward. What? Yeah, we're actually doing it. Stop recording? Yeah.